Hey, I'm Sam.
And I'm Dane.
We shoot the shit about hockey before, during, and after the game.
But Puck Talk starts now.
Welcome to Puck Talk. I'm Sam.
And I'm Dane.
And Dane, guess what? There's a new team in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah?
They are not the Vegas Golden Knights. They are the Las Vegas Raiders. Woo!
It's like the Golden Knights are already the veteran team in town.
Exactly. It's only been a few months, but now, the NFL voted. The owners voted 31-1 to move the Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas. So I think the reason I bring this up, it's a big story in sports in general, but I think it's also going to be interesting to see how the Golden Knights react to this and what impact this has on that team. Because I think a big part of them moving to Las Vegas that was really cool is they get to be the first professional sports team in a market.
And I guess they still will be. Like they're going to ice a team.
They have 2 seasons worth. So what it's going to be is basically Oakland's going to be in Oakland still for 2017, 2018. And then they're going to move when they've got a stadium figured out in 2019.
Gotcha.
So they get a 2-season head start, but at the same time, they've got to now build up enough capital because the team that's coming in is football, and obviously that's the biggest sports league in the world. You can put football anywhere in America, and it's going to be a huge hit because that's the national sport. Hockey, it's not a hockey market, Las Vegas, so they have to build up. Yeah, they have to build up a lot of capital with the fans. Otherwise, they're going to kind of get swept under the rug by a team that has such a huge popularity in the sport.
I wonder what emotions the Golden Knights staffers are feeling right now. Like Bill Foley, the owner. I wonder if they anticipated this at all.
Well, I've read there's been rumblings about it, and they've kind of just been playing off. But there was an interesting quote from him today when he heard about it, and he basically said, this isn't ideal. I would have liked to wait a little longer to get a footing as a team before we have another sports team in here. But, he has to play nice, and he can't be like, screw the
you can't make yourself into a city villain like that before you've played your first hockey game.
Yeah, so he congratulated them. That's cool. I hope that, they kind of need the team to be good soon, which it really doesn't look like. Everything I hear about what the projections are looking at for the expansion draft for the Golden Knights, it sounds pretty bad. And we've talked about this before on the show, but there's going to be intrigue at the start, but if that team's not winning games, it's going to be hard to ramp up to the point where they can be at least somewhat competitive with the Raiders when they come in.
Yeah.
It's football's big.
Football's crazy in the States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really interesting though. Just the whole dynamic of there's so much hype around the Golden Knights being the first team, and then this just happening. I just feel like this has happened really quickly. That being said, I'm not a football fan.
No, I don't know anything. But all I know is that it's such a huge moneymaker. And it'll be interesting to see if other leagues follow suit. Like maybe there'll be a baseball team in Las Vegas now. It's an experiment. It's interesting that they didn't even really wait as Oakland to see what professional sports would look like in Las Vegas. They were just ready to go right away as well. But it's a big market. It's a big market with or without your gambler.
I'd be so heartbroken if the team that I cheered for just packed up and moved to Vegas, out of all the cities. I'd be so if I'm an Oklahoma Raiders fan, I'm disappointed. It's like shit. Well, my team's the Vegas team. I just feel like there's a certain, and this applies to both. I don't know. Yeah. This applies to both hockey and football. But when I think of kind of sports being in Las Vegas on a professional level, I just feel like will they have as many fans as just because it's such a tourist destination. Yeah. And I know we're beating a dead horse at this point, but it's just it was hard enough with one team. It's very interesting in my mind now that there's going to be 2 teams. Yeah,
there's no proof that this is going to work in a model for even one team, and then they're just going in feet first. It's true. It almost seems like it's like a music thing when an artist goes and they have like a Las Vegas residency. That's kind of them like just like putting their feet up and being like, yeah, I'm done. It's that like it feels like a selling out kind of thing to be like, I'm going to the glitzy Las Vegas life. Yeah, so I would be pissed if I'm Oakland Raiders fan.
Did you hear who Vegas hockey Vegas Golden Knights inked a deal with?
Who?
Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like a partnership. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but something like they get to do like there's a selection of games throughout the season that they're like they've sponsored, so they get like the big screen out front to do like a bunch of content on.
Yeah.
They get like in between periods, they'll do like some cool stuff. Really Las Vegas-esque.
Yeah,
entertainment. Which
we
is
were
cool.
talking about earlier, or another episode where Vegas should embrace the fact that they're Vegas and put it into a thing. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah,
that's what I want
smart.
to see. I would go watch a Golden Knights game if I was there.
The other cool thing about going to Vegas now is like having the sports teams there.
Mm-hmm.
Being a sports fan, I don't know if you've ever been to an NFL game. It's a big deal.
Yeah,
but it's a drinking thing.
Right.
So to have that NFL in Las Vegas now, so now you can do like on your Vegas trips.
Such a drinking centric city.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like adds one more element. So it's gonna be like, you know, the nightclub on the Friday night, the pool bar on the Saturday afternoon, the strip and the casino Saturday night.
Crazy.
And the football game on Sunday afternoon.
Man, I hope they put the arena near the strip. I don't know where the T-Mobile
It is pretty
arena.
close.
It is, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. What else happened this week?
That up. Well, I mean, the big thing, Mark Mathot doesn't have a finger anymore.
Oh, man.
That was brutal.
It looked like a bomb went off in his glove.
How does that happen from a regular slash?
I don't get it.
See, that's the thing. This is what I want to get into. That slash was fairly textbook. I saw someone tweet out basically after this. I guess we'll get to Eugene Melnyk in a second, but he was saying, Eugene Melnyk's comments, he shouldn't be throwing stones at a glass house, that type of thing. And they showed a video of all these Ottawa players slashing people's hands exact same way. Something just happened where his finger blew up, and it's disgusting, but I don't know, it wasn't, Crosby was just playing hockey and he got a little high with his slash. He was trying to get the stick, I'm sure.
Something I've always had a gripe with is like the intent to injure.
Yeah.
So, prime example, playoffs, PK Subban, Mark Stone. There's that big slash out front of the net, and it was like a lumber, like it was a slash.
When you said playoffs, I think we're gonna go Chris Kreider.
No. And you know, the ref gave Subban a misconduct, and it was like the second game. I think it was game 2 of the playoff first round, and you give a guy a misconduct, and that ends up, and because Mark Stone left the game with the injury, that's a game suspension automatically.
Okay.
But Mark Stone later then came back into the game.
Oh, I remember this now, yeah.
And like, thus, I feel like that rule is kind of iffy. And then we see slashes like this, where if Crosby slashed Mathot and his finger didn't essentially blow up, it might have been worth a 2-minute penalty. Yeah. And that's it.
Well, that's the interesting thing. There was no penalty whatsoever.
There was no penalty. And I think it probably should have been a 2-minute penalty.
It should have been a 4-minute because there was blood.
4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And I think that either of those calls are fair. Mm-hmm. But as soon as we get into, and like this also goes to like the high sticking. Like, you know, if a high stick catches you up high, I've seen handfuls and handfuls and handfuls of high sticks that are vicious, that don't draw blood.
Yep.
And I've seen handfuls and handfuls of, you know, a shot that he followed through on, he just happened to clip him at the right spot, and there was a bit of blood. And you get 4 minutes compared to the 2 minutes, and I just find that so wishy-washy.
It's hard. It's hard to be consistent on that. That thing in particular, slashing, like, I think you need to penalize it across the board when it's high on your hands. But
yeah, and that's fine. I'm all for that. Yeah. I'm all for regulating that. But where I don't like the rulings is when people start saying, but he's going to miss 2 weeks. I don't think that should matter. One of Melnyk's comments was, he's going to miss 2 weeks, so Crosby should miss 2 weeks. Nope.
That's not how it works.
Not how it works at all. Like, every player wears, essentially, like, besides a few brand names, everyone wears the same equipment. They all wear X, X, and X, and X. Some of them wear slash guards. That's more of an optional thing.
Yep.
And it's just like, if you happen to catch someone in the hands in the crossing where, like, pad A meets pad B and there's a little crease and like maybe that I don't know and I might be talking my ass, but if that's how method ended up with a blown up finger, that like the chance of like the fact that you just missed the piece of padding, like I guess what I'm trying to say is like a slash is a slash.
Yeah.
A slash.
Shit happens if you get it in the wrong spot.
When you play hockey, you might get hurt.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
And I think I've said that due to the Olympics and owners being scared to send their players across. Like hockey is a dangerous sport. It is a physical sport.
Yep.
But I'm so tired of people, oh, he's gonna miss 2 weeks. He should be suspended. There's no grounds. Like bones are stronger than other bones. Like there's different contexts for every single one. Like a slash is a slash is a slash. Call it a slash, or don't. Like don't base the punishment off of the injury, or if there is an injury.
Right. Do you have that full Melnick quote in front of you, or I'm trying to find it. But basically, yeah, he kind of got into hot water, I guess you could say, about talking about Crosby. You mentioned some of it where he said that Crosby should get 2 weeks because Mathod's going to be up for 2 weeks. I think Crosby's response was great, where he said he just loves to hear himself talk. You don't hear that often from Crosby, where he gets a little snarky and a little bit sassy. But so I think
it comes with him being in the league. Like, he's always been the man in the league since he came in. Like he's been Crosby, he's been Sid the Kid, whatever. Now he's like in his 13th season, 12th season.
People talk about how much of an ego, or how humble he is, but he's got to have a bit of an ego.
You've got to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't let some shitty GM, some
maybe
penny pusher GM talk to me talk about me like that to the world. Like I wouldn't. And I think he did a good job.
Totally.
Like he swept it under the rug. He's like, look, it's over. This guy likes to talk. He's not wrong.
Yeah. Oh. Well, this is like the second time he's come up with some sort of crazy comment about something. The Carlson thing, like he's drawing attention. It's like the sideshow. I don't want to compare him to Donald Trump, but it's almost that type of thing where he's just got to say something and create a little sideshow about what he's talking about. Like crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. And aside here, talking about injuries in hockey just being a dangerous sport, it reminded me there's a good interview with John Scott that was done by James Myrtle a couple days ago. I don't know, you should check that out. But basically, part of his comments in there was like, oh yeah, everyone gets injured in hockey and they come out of it very their bodies are beaten up just naturally by the end of it. Even if you don't get a severe injury, he's like, I have trouble getting out of my car, like my hips are, and I was very lucky I didn't have crazy surgery or anything like that. So yeah, I
had a conversation with someone I know who plays in the OHL. Mm-hmm. And he's a rookie in the OHL this season, and he just started playoffs. He plays for Niagara. And I was talking to him, and it was really interesting because he played minor hockey up until this point. Yeah. Minor hockey's like a 31 or 33 game season.
Regular season, yeah.
And the OHL is much longer than that. The OHL is 68 games, I do believe.
Okay.
And that's almost double.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I ended up asking him, just in conversation, do you feel like a toll being taken on your body? He was like, without a doubt. Like
the 31 games.
He said after every practice, from practicing at the beginning of the season to practicing before playoffs, he's like everything hurts, everything it's crazy. Nothing lasts as long as it did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And I think I had this kind of ignorant view for a while where, these guys are athletes and they get paid millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, well, goalies can't play back-to-back, and, oh, well, this tournament takes too much out of them. And then there's, people talking about how people were missing training camp and how the hard games at the World Cup this year are going to make an impact on playoffs. And, I was like, I've always been like, no, but, I'm foolish me. I'm not. I don't consider that anymore. I totally get it.
No, it's true. Yeah, as fans, you don't realize because you're not in that position. And stuff like this makes, Yager's career and being until 45 that much more amazing, considering how is his body, he's got to be so conscientious.
Yager hasn't missed a game this year yet.
That's insane. Just purely out of rest the guy, he's 45 years old.
And he's taking Instagram videos of him working out at 1 a.m. at the gym, and he doesn't have a family. He just loves hockey, and hockey's his life. It's
you
amazing.
have to be that strict with your regime if you're gonna stay in the league that long. He must be so good with his body and everything like that.
People say that part of the reason he's able to last so long is because kind of in his prime when he went over to the KHL for 4 years, like that was kind of hockey was pretty brutal then. Like it was still in its rough spot. Lots of fighting, lots of big hitting, and I've heard people say like that added time to his career, like that the choice of going
a lot less physical of a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And like at first, the ignorant me was like, no way, like hockey is hockey. But I've watched a couple KHL games this year actually, and it's different. It's so different. Like so much more open ice. You can beat guys on the wing, like on the rush. You can beat defenders on the outside. So much like
you're not like grinding on the boards as much.
Exactly, and like it's such more. It's just so much more of a fast, pure skill, and less kind of rock'em sock'em.
Kind of just a different type of way to view hockey. Yeah.
It's fun to watch, but I do prefer the smaller rink and the physicality of hockey. I've always been a fan of the physicality, but still really interesting to consider the fact that 4 years playing in a different professional hockey league can boost his career that many years down the line.
That's cool. Well, speaking of less physical hockey, U.S. women's team.
Oh yeah.
So they, if you haven't heard, are staging a boycott for the World Championships, basically to get some sort of pay equality. And I think that's totally, makes sense. Their statement about, it's not even pay equality, it's just recognizing the women's team as an equal team to the men's team. They were saying things like the new U.S. jerseys that were unveiled, the women weren't even invited to the unveiling of that. There was no woman model for that, and then they put the years they won gold medals and they put the women's gold medal years on it, but the women are wearing the same jerseys. Everything in that just seems really unfair, and I don't know why the USA Hockey's fighting this so much. They should want to grow the game.
USA Hockey in the past 2 years, I can think of so many times they've just messed up.
World Cup of Hockey,
like leaving Phil Kessel off the roster. Like, they played awful. Like, that was an awful team.
Yeah. It was great to see them lose as bad as they did based on, like, those poor decisions that we go in and seeing, like, can't work.
Yeah. Then their junior team left Alex DeBrincat, who's, like, smashing OHL records right now off the team. I don't understand how...
Yeah, well,
how you leave him
what was
off
their basis for making these decisions? Have they ever explicitly, like, said... This is why we left Phil Kessel off. This is why we've left DeBrincat off.
They left Phil Kessel off because I don't want to say anything that I don't know. I have a faint memory of reading that they're going for more of a grinding team than a fast shooting team.
Yeah, which I don't know. How about just better players?
How well did that go for them?
Yeah, like, really. Jeez.
Now I guess Team USA Hockey is looking for replacements in the event that the boycott goes longer than the Worlds,
which is next Friday. It starts next Friday,
which is crazy. Like to be, it's it's crazy to think. I might be in this huge tournament this week.
Start the weekend at the end of the week. You might be in the World Championships. Yeah.
And I've heard that they're going after They've gone now to Division III schools, so a lot of the players are playing Division I hockey.
Right.
Some are playing Division II. Division III, not so much. So they're reaching out to Division III players, and I heard that they're going after a few high school girls who are playing like elite high school hockey throughout the States. Yeah. In the case that they need players.
That's wow.
But how are you USA Hockey and you're sitting in your office today and you're like, this is okay. Yeah. This is fine.
Yeah, this many people have said no to me, but we're going to keep going. I would just not send a team at that point.
And just and men's.
Yeah.
Rumblings of men saying, or NHLers saying that they'd support them.
Yeah.
And what does that say about an organization when, USA Hockey isn't, it's not that it's not huge in the States, but it's not like, we just spoke about football being in the States. Yeah. Hockey's still one of the big four sports.
Mm-hmm. But it's the smallest.
It is the smallest.
Yeah.
But how is it like a thing that they've got this far? Like if your team is being like, just recognize us a little bit,
and give us living wages when we're expected to train nonstop in like Olympic years and World Championships.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, this day and age too, like like with everything that's happening in popular culture.
Yeah, it's an interesting political climate to make this happen. But it's cool. That's a big step for the men's hockey team to kind of say they might boycott as well. Yeah. It's cool to see, like, you don't see a ton of players standing up for social issues and stuff like that. I mean, this is part of the game. This is part of hockey. It's cool to see, I don't know, nothing official has happened yet, but at least it being thrown around that they might take such a huge stand as this.
Yeah.
I personally, as a fan and a fan of Team Canada, would love to see the U.S. hockey send a team, but it's just terrible, and they get run like you have like Latvia beating them and stuff like that.
I think there's only a few games that I would rank on like my all-time game list, best games.
Yeah.
That there are only a few that are higher than the gold medal game for Canada and USA in Sochi.
Right, the women's gold medal game.
The women's gold medal game.
Because they came back, right?
They came back, and then USA, they dumped it on the open net. They hit the post, and they scored with seconds left, and they won it in overtime. Like, just incredible. Yeah. And that's like how we kind of segued. It's like less physical, but it's like, but it is good hockey. Like, it is totally entertaining hockey. And like in a world where we're trying to recognize feminism. It's just like how has it gotten this bad to the point where you're about to lose your men's national team?
Yeah.
Like,
well, what are you holding on that's so important that you're gonna basically tarnish your entire program's name for the foreseeable future?
I wonder what like the CEO of Hockey Canada or USA Hockey makes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
that would be interesting. I wonder who it is. It could be some former NHLer even. But like these women's games in hockey and soccer is another one I think of, like, can be more thrilling in a lot of cases than even like the men's stuff on the Olympic stage. I wouldn't really care about men's soccer because, well, for me, Canada is not a strong team in that, but in the women's division, like, they had a chance to medal in London, and that game where they
shit show.
Yeah, but it was. That was the only time I've been like riveted by a soccer game, and and that's the other thing. The women's national soccer team has had similar problems in the past where they've been trying to get pay equity, and they weren't even saying pay equity. They were saying we should be paid more because we're a bigger draw in a lot of cases because we're a superpower in soccer in the women's division, but we're not in the men's division. So why do I care as an American soccer fan about the men's soccer?
That's a valid point. I mean, when your women's team, I guess it comes down to competitiveness. Like the Canadian women's team is way more competitive in their field than the men are in their field, and like that should be recognized. Like that should be like when you're at work, and you like whether you work in industry A or industry B. Like when you are in the top like echelon, you get paid more. Like on like a business like strict like that is how it works. That is how it's decided.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like think about this, like, can you name a men's soccer team player from Canada or even the US, I guess?
Michael Bradley? I think he plays.
I have to Google that.
I don't know if he's Canadian. I know he plays for Toronto FC.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if he I actually, now that I'm Googling it, I'm sure he's not from Canada.
He's just plays for TFC.
Is an American professional soccer player.
Okay. Well, there's an American.
He currently captains Canadian club Toronto FC.
Yeah. But like
in the United States men's national soccer team.
Yeah, there you go. But like Hope Solo in the States is a household name in the US.
Hope Solo sucks.
Yeah, maybe that's why. But Christine St. Clair, household name in Canada. Couldn't name a single men's national team player. Yeah. Anyway.
It's crazy. It'll be really interesting. I'm sure we'll talk about it next week, but it'll be really interesting to see how this ends up playing out. Because, like, I don't see USA Hockey, like, it would be detrimental if they lost, like, the support of the NHL.
Oh, totally.
Like,
this is it. It's already been so bad for the program. It's gonna get way worse if they don't send a team, and if the men have to boycott. You said you have a video for me.
So here's a story for this week. Brock Boser.
Yeah.
He played in the NCAA this year. He is a Vancouver Canucks prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And he finished NCAA. The season came to a close this week, and he played his last NCAA game on I don't know what night, but on whatever night last week, and he ended up being called up, and he played for Vancouver the night after. And he it's crazy. He went in, and I don't know what kind of expectations he has, but he rocks it. He plays on I think he scored a goal. Beauty, like, half breakaway. It was great. And I saw this really cool video. His parents read the starting lineup in the dressing room. They had them down to, like,
oh, cool.
That was a little cool thing. And they read the starting lineup, which is cool.
That's cool.
And then he had an interview, and I'll play a little piece of it.
All right.
But every time you hear the bell, which you will hear, this interview is 2 minutes and 58 seconds, and he says that you'll hear the bell 45 times. We won't play the whole thing. But every time you hear the bell, it's because he said the words, Typical hockey player.
That's definitely a dream come true, Dream about this since you're a little kid, and, being able to play, my first NHL game here in my hometown is, it's awesome.
To score a goal.
Yeah, didn't expect to score a goal in my first game, but, I just wanted to come here, work hard and, help the team get a win. So, getting a goal that obviously was huge, but, I just wanted to come here and help the team win.
What you see there, Tucker just sitting there tapping that?
Yeah, just...
That's the most hockey player tick.
So we'll stop her there. That was 12 in 34 secones. So
great.
But whatever, he's on top of the world. Like he no
can
matter
say as much as he wants.
I mean, he's just scored his first NHL goal in front of in his hometown, in front of his friends and family. Like, who cares?
I mean, like, hockey players get the rap for not saying a lot during interviews, but it's the whole thing. Like, you're gassed after the end of the game, and someone comes and shoves a microphone in your face. And if you're not, like, super well-spoken, anyone's going to be like, poke some deep.
Okay, do you remember the Sport Check commercial where the guy he's playing hockey and
no.
he's playing in just like a beer league team, and his wife comes up to him after the game. I'll play it. I'll play it real quick.
I want to hear this.
Getting that first goal is key. I mean, it's a big 2 points for us, and we'll take it. It's a big win.
What are you talking about?
It's a gut check time, and everybody's contributing, all lines are firing, and, it feels really good. Absolutely.
I'll be in the car.
Okay, thanks.
And then, like, at the end, it says, when you look like a pro, you feel like a pro. I just
that's like sounding like a pro is
every time I hear these conversations, I remember this commercial from like 2006, 2007. It's awesome.
That reminds me also of the Letterkenny sketch. Remember the pro hockey player?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do the interviews and then they give them these super like out of context questions, and it's the exact same answer.
Yeah, I do remember that. Oh. Man, I'll never grow tired of that hockey player talk.
No. That's a great show for it, too.
Yeah, for sure.
You didn't go to the pop-up, did you, in Toronto?
No, did you?
No, I thought about it, but...
I totally forgot about it, and then someone ended up texting me later that day, but it was too late. I think the hockey players, Riley and Jonesy were there.
Oh, that's awesome.
I did see Goon, too, and...
Oh, yeah? Yeah, how is it?
It was good. I enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of Goon 1. I don't think it was as good as the first one, but still overall, like, lots of... like, James Duthie's in it.
That's awesome.
George Laraque is back. Delzato, Sagan... Prust is in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, a couple cool, like,
how are the hockey players? So I haven't even seen Goon 1.
You should watch it first off.
We've talked about it forever. We need to sit down and watch that. But, the hockey players, like, have a good, like, persona. Like, are they, like, outgoing enough to, like, kind of act in a role in the movie?
Nah, they don't play. James Duthie has a good, cool part because James Duthie is essentially who he is in real life.
Okay.
And his counterpart is TJ Miller. And TJ Miller is just totally inappropriate the entire time. Awesome. But James Duthie being James Duthie handles it really cool. But the guys on the ice are like, Prust gets a couple speaking lines and he fights them, and so does Laraque. Delzato and Sagan are just like on the ice for like a game. And they like
Okay.
have a couple quick shots.
Right.
But I mean, they've left the acting for the actors.
Right. That's cool.
But yeah, you should go watch it. Great
Yeah.
movie.
For sure. What else we got to talk about? Well, in Leafs land, there's a little bit of a crisis.
You don't say.
So if you were watching Saturday night's game, Leafs and Sabres, Anderson played the first, Freddie Anderson, our starting goalie, played the first period. And then Curtis McElhinney comes out for the second period, and everyone goes, what's happened? Turns out he's out for the game. Injury, upper body injury, quote unquote. So a lot of speculation about like what's going on. Is it serious? Because he seemed to finish the period. There wasn't any obvious like point where he got injured. And so today at practice, Steve Dangle on Sportsnet wrote quite a good little write-up of like the timeline. Basically, reporters see Anderson come out before the practice starts and he's skating around. He's doing pretty normal drills, so it doesn't look that bad. Someone reports, Dave Fetchtek reports that it might have been a jaw injury that he suffered.
What?
Yeah, although, like, such speculation, like, there's nothing definitive. At the end of the practice, when Anderson and Babcock come out to address the media, it's so there's no real information given. It's just, there's a upper body injury, and that's all I can tell you guys. I think I've said enough.
That's a good Babcock.
Thank you. Yeah, and then so he heads off before practice starts, and everyone's like, oh, I guess he's not participating in the practice. And then he comes back into the practice, and Garrett Sparks is also there. So no one knows what's going on. There's 3 goalies out for the full practice. They're doing stuff. Kasperi Kapanen, as a little aside, is also in the practice. And so apparently Sparks and Kapanen have been called up. And McElhinney's going to start the next game against Florida. Anderson's sitting out. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem that bad. There's reason for optimism because he was out. He was taking full practice. It's probably just a precaution. I mean, he's had an injury. He had an injury during the World Cup of Hockey. Apparently, a trainer was seen like massaging his shoulder, which has been a problem for him
so
before.
Much speculation.
I know it's like all these reporters.
Heaven forbid a professional athlete gets a fucking gets a massage.
Like what? What's going on? Yeah. That's interesting as a beat reporter at practices. You're just sitting at the MasterCard Center staring at Freddie Anderson. What's he doing now?
What do you think? Can McElhinney carry that load?
He's been pretty good at times this season. He definitely hasn't played to the level that Anderson has been able to be pretty consistent, other than his kind of rough start throughout the season. So it's definitely a net loss, but I think that McElhinney can pull off some games here. I believe in him. And the other thing is Sparks, too, has been crushing it in the AHL. Like, he's looked very good. So there's almost a question of, should Sparks just leapfrog McElhinney and be the starter for now? I'm sure he'll get at least a start if this goes on any more than one game. Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'm still confident. It was a bad loss. It wasn't like a awful loss. Like, it wasn't a blowout like Florida on Saturday, and it was bound to happen. They've had such a hot streak, and they're still 7-2-1 in their last 10. So I don't think there's any reason to sound the alarm because the Leafs lost one game, and because their goalie's out. Hopefully short term. That's what I'm thinking. I'm remaining optimistic.
Yeah. There you go.
That's the Leafs update.
Well, Galchenyuk's playing on the third line right now.
Why?
Because he's trying to find his game.
Find his game. Has he been cold recently?
I mean, when Claude Julien got hired, he went 7 points in the first 5 games, so that was good.
Okay.
I wouldn't say he's cold. He just doesn't look like a number one center out there like he's supposed to look, and everyone's panicking.
Mm-hmm.
But my beef is like he's never gonna get better getting like sheltered minutes on the third line,
Yep.
and now he's on the wing too.
Yeah.
So I mean that's until Galchenyuk is like bona fide number one, like franchise centerman.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna take this heat, and they're gonna always be juggling him. I don't know if that's the best
I don't get it, yeah. And it's not like Montreal's in a position where, like, we need to try new things now. They're comfortably in a playoff position near the end of the season, and their last 10 record is pretty good, 6-3-1.
Yeah.
What's the reason to
Thanks
shake
to the
things
Ottawa
up?
Senators.
Oh, man.
Which is like, I think I like the Ottawa Senators. I think I like Habs playing Ottawa more than I like Habs playing Leafs.
But we've never seen Habs playing Leafs in a full series is the interesting thing. And that matchup's been so dull the last few years.
Yeah.
So it could be rekindled. But yeah, there's been a history between Ottawa and Montreal recently. So that would be an interesting matchup. I get that.
They signed Victor Mete this year, this week. He's a defenseman. He's on the top pairing in London right now with Oli Juolevi, who is taken 6th overall to 5th overall, 6th overall to Vancouver this year. Mm-hmm. He's playing really well. He's small though. I think that's why he's a 4th round pick, and a lot of people are saying he's a steal in the 4th round. But a lot of people are associating it with his small size as a defenseman.
Which, I mean, happens. Oh, especially as a defenseman.
But people compare his speed with Connor McDavid. Like he's far and away the fastest player in the OHL this year.
Wow. Crazy
Foot speed, and he has hockey IQ. It's just his size is such a. I think he can make up for it. Like I think he's gonna end up being like a Ryan Ellis, who's small. Jared Spurgeon.
Time and time again, when people say this player is really good hockey IQ, they're very talented, but they're small. Like we've seen Johnny Hockey, we've seen Mitch Marner, Marty St. Louis, Theo Fleury way back. It's not a thing if you have the talent. Like it doesn't matter.
But I think we're watching an interesting time right now where the NHL is I don't even think slowly. I think it's quickly becoming a small athlete's game.
Right, like a skill game.
You look at some of the best players in the league right now. Like Patty Kane, he's not very big.
Marchand, tiny.
He's small.
Yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah.
Tyler Johnson making the Tampa Bay after going undrafted as a small player. And I know those are all four that just listed, but like then you have your Jared Spurgeon, your Ryan Ellis, your for a couple years, Francis Bouillon played on the Habs. He was like 5'11", I think. Yeah. I think you can get by it today. I think it was harder to get by your like small size 10 years ago.
Right.
Today being, less fighting, less hitting, and just overall trying to make it a cleaner sport. Yep. I think there's room for smaller defensemen to get by. I have high hopes on this kid.
That's cool.
4th round pick playing in the playoffs right now against Windsor. They're tied 1-1. Okay. And then they also just signed Jeremiah Addison, who's playing on Windsor.
It's a great name.
Jeremiah Addison. I don't know about him. He's good in the juniors. I think it's like kind of just like standard depth move.
Okay.
We'll see if he makes it to the show or not, but
how old is he?
I don't know. He's an overager right now.
Okay.
So I would say 18.
Yeah.
Like Duchesne's pretty small.
Yeah, true.
He also kind of sucks right now.
Pretty cold, just like his shitty team.
I mean, it's hard to escape criticism when you're playing on Colorado this year. Like they're such a bad team.
Everything's going wrong. There's no like bright spot of that team. So it makes sense. I mean, they probably just given up entirely. How do you have the morale to be like, I'm gonna go in and play really hard every game if I know there's no point in terms of, getting by and trying to succeed. You're not going to.
No. So we're running out of time, but I want to talk about something really quick.
Yep.
I read something this week, and the more I think about it, the more I need it in my life. So I don't know. I can't remember where I heard this, whether it was, I think it was on Reddit somewhere, but someone proposed obviously they proposed a new playoff format, but it's a cool, the best kind of change I've heard of. So essentially the playoffs would be for the top 16 teams, regardless of division or conference. The top 16 teams, with an emphasis you want to be in that number one seed. And essentially, you know how the NHL loves making money. They, ads on jerseys, a hot topic.
Yep.
The World Cup of Hockey was like a cash grab. Imagine a live television event, maybe 2 days. I don't know when it would be. Maybe the night after the last regular season game.
Yeah.
Live television event. The number one team. So whoever that is, their GM waltzes up on stage and they get to talk smack about the team of their choice, and then they call them out. It's like the number one
big old diss.
You can just call them out. You can bring your mascot out if you want. Like throw some little WWE spice in there.
You should get the other team's GM to like come and stand there and take it and like it's like a
Seriously.
rap battle.
So it's a live television event where really hype. No one knows the playoff matchups going into the night, and the number one seed gets to pick out of all other 16 teams. They can pick the number 2 team. They can pick the number 3 team if they want to be.
Yeah.
They're
like we're gonna run show.
Think about it. Let's say Washington wins it this year. They win the President's Trophy. They're the number one seed.
Yeah.
Teddy walks up on stage and he gets to pick. And that creates that has to be a really cool the season ended. These are the 16 teams. You're immediately going through all
you're speculating so much like what's in his mind. What's he gonna say?
And then you literally call this team out. You can diss them a couple times, and that's it. Those 2 teams are playing each other in the first round. Then the next best team comes up, and they get to pick.
Amazing.
They get to pick their team, and but just think about it. Think about, the Habs finish. They're probably going to finish 7th. In the league.
Yeah.
They could be like, Babcock, bring it on. Leaves, Habs, first round. Imagine that the confidence being like, we're gonna take this team out.
Or if you're not confident, you're forced to do it.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Like whoever Blackhawks get up there and everyone's just sweating
Minnesota Wild.
I still can't think of a reason not to do that.
It's cool. Other than the NHL is run by boring people. That'd be amazing. That's and it's innovative. No one's ever thought to do that, and it creates so much drama.
But think about how much they love their live events, the draft lottery,
We're probably gonna do the expansion draft.
The expansion draft is gonna be televised. That could be a really cool thing, and everyone's up until that point in time, everyone's talking. A lot of hype gets built up. If could you imagine the Habs yelling at the Rangers? The Habs are 11-1 against the Rangers last 12 starts.
It'd be unreal.
You know what I mean?
It'd be so cool.
Top 16 teams, none of this garbage division, whatever. It's just the top 16 teams, and obviously there's an emphasis on being in the top 7, I guess. 8, 9 would, I guess 8 would get home ice advantage, but
yeah. But
I think it'd be. How cool would that be?
Unreal.
And I don't know. I haven't even thought about the second round. If it's you just make a bracket and then that's what it is. But
it's just reseeded. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
But wouldn't that be awesome?
That'd be awesome, and it'd be so innovative. That never happened in any other sport. Other people would see that, and it would create a thing for hockey. And where it's this is our thing.
Think about it, the All-Star game, how televised, the picking and stuff. They love those kind of televised events.
Oh yeah.
What would be better than seeing your team's GM call out the team that you're about to play, and you could have 30 seconds of saying something and be like, well, we're 11-12 against this team, and we have a good history with this team, and they took out our star goalie in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Mark Bergevin he's like, we're gonna take on the Rangers. Drop the mic and walk out.
Throw a Chris.
You know what I mean?
Jersey.
That would be sick.
That'd be unreal. I love it. The problem is that there's too many hockey purists that'll be like, that's not how the game was meant to be. Back in my day.
That would be such a good way to do it. It would be so funny.
That'd be
not
unreal.
even funny. I shouldn't have said funny because it's gonna be.
It'd be entertaining. Hockey is entertainment.
Yeah, and just the hype. I feel the hype of that night, going out with your buddies, watching this event where you find out what team you're gonna go against.
Yep.
And why? And if you win first place, if you win the President's Trophy, why shouldn't you be able? Why you did better than everybody. Why shouldn't you be able to pick your first round opponent?
That'd be so cool.
Honestly, it almost makes sense. Why?
Yeah.
Because think about how many teams are getting screwed over this year with in the Metro.
That's
it's
true.
You shouldn't have matchups in the first round like that.
Yeah, you're gonna have one of the top, 3 or 4 teams in the league be gone in the first round automatically right away.
Yeah, and it's like, otherwise you get like, it's like a choose your own adventure kind of.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm going to play this team in the first round because reasons A, B, and C, and then I'm going to try and match myself up with this person, this team in the second round for reasons D, E, and F.
It should be a requirement that you have to state your reasons why you want this.
Seriously, like there's so many cool things.
Suck.
All right, well, there's my idea for the week.
That's pretty great. That was a good show. I enjoyed that. All right, well, that's all the time we have. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and thanks again to Tattoo Sound and Music. Check them out at ta2music.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Puck Talk Show. We've got regular content, particularly on our Instagram. Our show is available on YouTube and SoundCloud at Puck Talk Show, and this has been Puck Talk. Thanks for talking hockey with us.
See you next week.